Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the step-by-step process of buying land and building a house on it. All right, Dan, you were saying? The work is done in advance. You get the letter back, you sign it, they've signed it. What's the next step?
There's kind of several steps that you want to work on simultaneously. And in fact, if you knew that you were wanting to build up front, some of these things you probably would have already been working on. So I'll go through them one by one, but really these are not necessarily after each other. They're all together. You're going to need to figure out, well, what are you going to build? You need to pick your plan. And just like in any business, you need to know who your customer is. And so in the markets we're in, it's either that first time millennial home buyer or that downsizing baby boomer.
I love that you've specified it. First time millennial home buyer. You're not just saying, oh, first time home buyer. You know what your avatar or your buyer looks like, what he drinks, what he drives, what the car he drives. Like, that's pretty specific.
Absolutely. And in any business, that's really important because then you can, number one, on the buy side, make sure your marketing is fitting for your avatar. And then on the sell side, make sure you're building the right product for those people. So I'll say it again, it goes back to when I was doing due diligence up front on the different markets. It's pretty easy if you talk to a few realtors, people doing business there locally, to figure out, well, who's buying these houses, who's moving there. And especially right now, there's such a massive migration within the country. Take Florida, for example. I grew up in Ohio. All the boomers up there are moving down Southeast, Georgia, Florida, areas like that. Yep, exactly. So what are they looking for? Well, they're generally middle class. A lot of them are getting older, so they don't want multiple levels. They don't have their kids with them anymore. They're empty nesters. So that really simple 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage, about 1,500 square foot ranch works very, very well because in the markets I'm in, the first time millennial buyers and then the downsizing baby boomers love that sort of product. So that's what I'm building. And to answer specifically, step number 4 or 3 would be pick your plans. And that is really important. You don't want to come to a middle class market and build a luxury product, or vice versa. I have a friend building in Denver, in the neighborhoods he's in, you don't want to build that simple entry level house. That's not appropriate. So you need to know who your avatar or end user is.
That's powerful. All right, next step. We got survey, soil test, and I know a lot of this has happened. I appreciate you said that because it's hard to break it down step by step when multiple of these steps are happening simultaneously.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up because so much of the minutia is handled by the contractor. So that is the next one I wanted to hit on. And just like I said, time spent up front for planning and doing your due diligence on the market is so important. That is also true with the contractor. I cannot overemphasize this enough. If you do this correctly, this can be a passive or mostly passive repeatable system. If you do not, this can be an absolute nightmare. So you want to find a general contractor that has a good reputation, both online and just among people you talk to in your local market. Ideally, you want to find someone that people you know and trust have used. And even if they have a good reputation, but they're new to your market, I would watch out for that. I want to see someone who's successfully built in your market, who has a good reputation and is recommended by people you know and trust. This is so important, guys. Do this right and your life will be easy and this will be very profitable. And once you've identified the right general contractors, well, you have to make a deal with them. And there's a number of different ways to do it. So with the builds Brent and I are doing, we're paying a set fee to our contractor, and then I have to handle a little bit more of the work. But the fee's pretty low and we have a really solid margin. On the flip side, for a number of years, I was working with a contractor where we put in the land at cost, he put in his labor and all the subs and materials at cost, and we just split the profit. And that's a really good way to go about it as well. Neither is necessarily right nor wrong, but I will say splitting the profit led to a entirely passive build. So that was a lot of information there, but to summarize, you need to pick a reliable, experienced contractor with a good reputation. And then once you've done that, you need to have very clear expectations as far as how you're splitting the profit, who's handling what, and what sort of timeframes are to be expected. Draw process, all of that is really really important.
Love that. I love that you mentioned, I love that you're splitting profits with the general contractor, because ultimately you're now in a partnership and he has an also highly interest in making more profits. So there's more to split. But one thing I like to do, something I do with you and I, everything goes into the Google Drive folder for 4223 Mustang Drive. Invoices, estimates, payments. That way you can see the exact cost, and then it goes to your Excel sheet showing all the expenses, or AKA improvements. That way, and it's down to the penny. That way you know what the costs are and they're not fabricated. Like if so, oh well, it's going to cost $8,000 when it really costs $7,182.33. No, sir. We're not rounding up. That's not padding your pocket. But when you pay the contractor his fee and he's paying all the subs as well as all the materials, he could very well be marking all that up already. So that's maybe another good rule of thumb, to just see what the expenses are and have them put that in there. So either way, whether you partner with them or not, you really want to have an idea what the expenses are. And let's just say that, for example, what Dan and I do, if we're partnering 50-50, like, it's not that you're asking me to put that in a Google Drive folder. I want you to see it. That way we know to the penny what the profit is. That way we can keep doing more deals later. And if I get a refund from the title company 6 months later because we paid too much, or we overpaid on taxes, and it's $1,000, or let's just say it's $13 or $12 for easy math, Dan, you get another check for $6. Like, that's how partnerships stay partnerships.
Absolutely. And so that's also applicable to that general contractor, as far as being transparent and honest, and then upfront about the expectations. This will transition us into the next part, but what about draws? If you're not financing with cash, which you probably aren't, and you have a construction loan, well, can the contractor pay his subs and the bills until he's able to do the draw? Are you expected to float and bridge that gap with your own funds? These are all things to discuss up front, as far as how is everyone going to get paid and how are we financing the project, which is the next step that you should have been working on simultaneously with picking your plans and your contractor.
And I highly recommend, if you do have your own cash, I wouldn't dump it all into a build. I would use financing partners, hard money lenders, banks, credit unions, things like that. All right, so we talked about, finding the land, the contractor, the financing a little bit, the final piece, which is the make or break sometimes, which she acts as our project manager a lot of times. Sarah, our realtor. That is so key at the end of this, finding the right realtor that's going to help you keep that project going, moving forward, and then ultimately finding that buyer once it's, say the 90% completion mark. Because usually we kind of wait till the drywall's in or the painting started, because we want to make sure we've got a great understanding of what we spent for that property, that house that we built, to know what we need to sell it for and if the market takes an increase. Any other final hidden factors of things to look out for, Dan?
Yeah, a couple thoughts here. You mentioned a survey or a soils test. We're not looking to be our own employees. We're not looking to be the contractor. Brent just said the first build he did was awful because he was the GC. Guys, I don't want to know what the R factor on the insulation in these houses is. That's not for me. That's not for us. We are business owners. So setting things up properly with your general contractor will lead to them handling all of the minutia, all of the details, the actual building of the house. We are business owners, investors, and ultimately orchestrators. So that is why we're not going into that, because that is for your contractor to handle, and it's all part of setting the expectations up front. Number two, I will say, whether you use hard money or a commercial bank is going to depend on your tax returns. But if you have the land, there's plenty of hard money lenders that'll finance the whole build for you. So especially right now, look around, money's everywhere. And then, yeah, Brent, great point. With the crazy state of the commodity markets right now, we've been waiting to pre-sell builds until most of the major price point or materials are locked in as far as price. But when the world was more stable before the pandemic, we would pre-sell these before even having a permit. And that's an awesome route to go in a more stable world. So if we get to a little more stability in the commodity markets, then that's another route you can go. But yeah, finding the right realtor is extremely valuable, because they can also act a lot like your project manager and handle a lot of that minutia that I was just referencing that I don't want to deal with. So yeah, great points there, Brent.
So guys, if you have taken an interest into this, hopefully you shared this video and subscribe to this channel, but head on over to ibuildfreedom.com if you want to schedule a call with me or Dan and see if this might be a fit for you. Maybe you're interested in, passively building, buying land and passively building houses and building yourself to freedom, hence ibuildfreedom.com. Schedule a call with me or Dan or maybe someone on our team, Gordon, and see if this is a good fit for you.